Hello students, this is your economics teacher Ayana. I hope you are well and utilizing the time wisely.
In the previous class, you learned about the scope of economics and the basic concept of economics. Today afternoon, you are going to learn about the meaning of utility, types and measurability of utility, equilibrium diagram and methods of economics. Please watch this video very carefully till the end. Okay, let us enter into the topics. Utility. Students, take the page number 9. Utility means the capacity of a commodity or services to satisfy a human want. This does not mean that a commodity is capable of giving uniform or the same level of satisfaction to all individual consumers. Rather, a commodity is capable of giving different units of utility for different consumers and a different level of satisfaction for the same individual at different times. Thus, derivations of utility from a commodity by an individual depends on his state of mind. As utility depends upon the state of mind of a consumer, it is highly subjective. It cannot be measured directly as we measure the height or weight of an individual. However, we can measure utility indirectly. That is, normally by the higher or lower prices which he is willing to pay for the commodity. Thus, price more or less indicates the psychological entity or existence of utility. In other words, in the ordinary language, utility means usefulness. In economics, utility is defined as the power of commodity or a service to satisfy a human want. Utility is a subjective or psychological concept. The same commodity or service gives different utilities to different people. For a vegetarian, mutton has no utility. Warm cloth have little utility for the people in hot countries. So, utility depends on the consumer and is needed for the commodity. In short, utility means usefulness. In economics, utility is the want satisfying power of a commodity or services. It is in the goods and services for an individual consumer at a particular time and at a particular place. First, we will discuss the characteristics of utility. Students, take the page number 9. Characteristics of utility. Utility is psychological. It depends on the consumer's mental attitudes. For example, a vegetarian derives no utility from mutton. Second, utility is not equivalent to usefulness. For example, a smoker derives utility from a cigarette, but his health gets affected. Third, utility is not the same as pleasure. A sick person derives utility from taking a medicine, but definitely it is not providing pleasure. Fourth, utility is personal and relative. An individual obtains varied utility from one and the same good is different situation and places. Fifth characteristics, utility is the functions of the intensity of human want. An individual consumer faces a tendency of diminishing utility. Sixth, utility is a subjective concept. It cannot be measured objectively and it cannot be measured numerically. Seventh, utility has no ethical or moral significance. For example, a cook derives utility from a knife using which he cuts some vegetables, and a killer wants to stab his enemy by that knife. In economics, a commodity has utility if it satisfies a human wants. Next, types of utility. The following are the types of utility. Form utility. Form utility is an economic concept that identifies the value obtained by consumers from product designed in the most convenient ways for them. It is the idea that a product or service is more valuable for the consumer if the way it is presented and modeled matches his actual needs. In short, an individual consumer obtained utility from a good or services only when it is available in a particular form. Raw material in their original form may not possess utility for a consumer, but in their changed form as they become finished product, they provide utility to him. For example, cotton as a raw material may not possess utility for a consumer, but as it gets a new form as a cloth, it yields the consumer utility. Second types, time utility. Time utility exists when a company maximizes the availability of a product so that consumers can buy it during the times that are the most convenient or desirable for them. In short, a sick man derives time utility from blood not at the time of its donation, but only at the operation time, that is when it is used. Third, place utility. The place utility refers to the utility created for the product by the virtue of its location. The attractiveness of a product can be increased by changing its physical location. If we talk in marketing terms, the product should be available at the place where it is more accessible to the consumer. Fourth, service utility. An individual consumer derives service utility from a service made available at the time when he most needs it. For example, clients obtain service utility from their lawyers, patients derives service utility from the doctors, and so on. Fifth one, possession utility. Possession utility is the value customers have while buying a product, and they have the choice to use the product for the purpose it was made for, or finding a new way to use the product. For example, people use buckets to store water. In short, when a student buys a book or dictionary from a bookseller, then only it gives utility. And next one, knowledge utility. It is the utility derived by having knowledge of a particular thing. Advertisement serves as a source of information on an object. In short, when the utility of a commodity increases with the increase in knowledge about its use, it is the creations of knowledge utility through propaganda, advertisement, etc. Next, measurability of utility. Wants of a person are satisfied by the act of consumption. The consumer derives utility measured in terms of utils. And util is a unit of measurement of utility. An individual pays a price for the unit of the good equal to the utility derived. Marshall stated that utility can be measured indirectly using the measuring rod of money. Price. Generally, economists make no distinction between value and price. All prices are related to one another. They form the price system. The prices most familiar to use are the prices we pay for goods sold in the market, that is, retail price. Many payments like rent, wages, and interest are also prices which we pay respectively to land, labor, and capital. In short, price is the value of the good expressed in terms of money. Price of a good is fixed by the forces of demand for and supply of the good. Price determines what goods are to be produced and in what quantities. It also decides how the goods are to be produced. Next, market. In ordinary language, market refers to a place where goods are bought and sold. Thus, Coimbatore market in Chennai refers to a place where vegetables are sold. In economics, market does not refer to any particular place in which goods are bought and sold, but it refers to buying and selling of a commodity. In a market, a commodity is bought and sold under given condition, and there will be a number of buyers and sellers who will be in close touch with each other. According to Benham, Market is any area over which the buyers and sellers are in close touch with one another, either directly or through dealers. That prices obtainable in one part of market affected the prices paid in the other parts. See the paragraph. Generally, market means a place where commodity are bought and sold. But in economics, it represents where buyers and sellers enter into an exchange of goods and services over a price. Third, cost. The term cost of production means expenses incurred in the productions of a commodity. This refers to the total amount of money spent on production of a commodity. The determinants of cost of production are the size of plant, the level of production, the nature of technology used, the quantity of inputs used, managerial and labor efficiency. Thus, the cost of production of a commodity is the aggregate prices paid for the factors of production used in producing a commodity. In short, cost refers to the expenses incurred to produce or acquire a given quantum of a good. Together with revenue, it's determine the profit gained or the loss incurred by a firm. Next, revenue. Revenue is income obtained from the sale of goods and services. On the other hand, the amount of money which the firm receives by the sales of its output in the market is known as its revenue. Total revenue represents the money obtained from the sale of all the units of goods. Thus, TR is equal to P into Q, where TR is total revenue, P is the price per unit of the good, and Q is the total quantity of the goods sold. Suppose a firm sells 1000 units of a product at the price of rupees 10 each. The total revenue will be 1000 into rupees 10 is equal to rupees 10,000. Next topic, equilibrium diagram. Stable equilibrium. There is only one price at which the preference of seller and buyers meet together. At that point of the quantity demanded of a commodity by the buyers is equivalent to the quantity the seller is willing to sell. This price is called as equilibrium price, and it occurs at the point of intersection of the supply curve and demand curve. In other words, equilibrium refers to a particular pair of the price and the quantity. The supply and the demand will be in equilibrium. Equilibrium in general is defined as the state of rest or balance from which there is no tendency for change. In economics, equilibrium normally refers to equilibrium in a market. Even if there is any change, the original equilibrium positions will be restored by market forces. Professor Stickler stated that equilibrium is a position from which there is no net tendency to move. Its absence is referred to as disequilibrium. Consumer's equilibrium occurs when he gets maximum satisfaction. The equilibrium of the producer occurs when he gets maximum profit. A resource is in equilibrium when it gets fully employed and gets its maximum payment. Thus, static equilibrium is based on given and constant prices, quantities, income, technology, population, etc. See the diagram. This diagram shows quantity demanded and supply are measured along the x-axis, price are measured along the y-axis. Market equilibrium can be illustrated with the help of a diagram 1.1. Equilibrium price is PE. At the price PE, the quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied, D equal to S. At other prices, there is no equality between quantity demanded and quantity supplied. In both the cases, either the consumer or the firms are dissatisfied and tends to change the price. Next, particular equilibrium and general equilibrium. An equilibrium when it pertains to a single variable may be called as particular equilibrium. An equilibrium, on the other hand, when it relates to numerous variables or even the economy as a whole, may be called as general equilibrium. Next, income. In economics, when we refers to income, generally we mean money income. According to Seligman, income in the economic sense is the flow of satisfaction from economic goods. We know that all economic goods from wealth. The main source of income is wealth. For example, if you own a house, it is your wealth. If you get a rent from it, it is your income. Money income is also known as nominal income, but the standard of living of a people of a country depends on their real income. Real income depends upon the purchasing power of money, and that in turn depends on the price level. Real income refers to the command of a person over actual commodities and services. Just because money income of people increases, we cannot say they are better off. It all depends upon how many goods they can command. See the paragraph. Income represents the amount of monetary or other returns, either earned or unearned, small or big, acquiring over a period of time to an economic units. Nominal income refers to income expressed in terms of money. It is termed as the money income. Real income is the amount of goods that can be purchased with money as income. It is the purchasing power of income which is based on the rate of inflation. Suppose my money income is rupees 10 and the price of 1 kilo of rice is rupees 10. Then I can buy 1 kilo of rice, or my income is worth of only 1 kilo of rice. In the next month, my money income is raised to 15 rupees, but the price of 1 kilogram of rice is increased to rupees 20. Now money income is worth only 3 by 4 kilo of rice. Therefore, in spite of increase in money income, my real income has come down due to higher increase in price. Real income is price adjusted money income. Last topic, methods of economics, deduction and induction. Like any other sciences, economics also has its laws or generalization. These laws govern the activities in the various divisions of economics, such as consumption, production, exchange and distribution. The logical process of arriving at a law or generalization in a science is called its method. Economics uses two methods, deduction and induction. First, deductive method of economic analysis. It is also named as analytical or abstract method. It consists in deriving conclusion from general truth. It takes few general principles and applies them to draw conclusions. The classical and neoclassical school of economists, notably Ricardo, Senior, J.S. Mill, Malthus, Marshall, Bigot, applied the deductive method in their economic investigation. Deductive method or deductive reasoning is based on the premise of moving from the general to the particular, that is, from the known general or universe to the unknown particular or sample. In other words, the method is based on a priori reasoning and the conclusion are drawn from certain fundamental assumption. Deduction method was very popular among the Greeks. Here is an example. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Socrates is mortal. The deductive method moves from the general assumption to the specific application. So, a classical economist made use of the deductive method. Steps of deductive methods. First step, the analyst must have a clear and precise idea of the problem to be inquired into. Second, the analyst clearly defines the technical terms used in the analysis Further, assumptions of the theory are to be precise. Third, deduce hypothesis from the assumption taken. Fourth, hypothesis should be verified through direct observation of events in the real world and through statistical methods. Example, there exists an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded of a good. Next method, inductive method of economic analysis. Inductive method, also called empirical method, is adopted by the historical school of economists. It involves the process of reasoning from particular fact to general principles. Economists also use inductive reasoning. Inductive method of reasoning is based on the premise of moving from the particular to the general, from the sample to the universe. In the deductive method, we move from the known universe to the unknown particular. In the inductive method, we move from the known particular or sample to the unknown universe. This is an empirical method. In the case of inductive method, for example, when we want to estimate the standard of living of workers in an industry employing 5,000 workers, we need not interview all the 5,000 workers. Instead, a sample of 100 workers is enough. The sample being is representations of each category of workers, we study the 100 units, test them and employ scientific method of measuring the standard of living. The sample result will most certainty be true for the other 4,900 workers. This is the inductive method of reasoning. In short, the inductive method moves from specific observation to generalization. It was Francis Bacon was advocated. Inductive method is scientific inquiry. Economic generalization are derived in this method on the basis of experimentation, observation and statistical method. There are some steps of inductive method. First step, data are collected about a certain economic phenomenon. These are systematically arranged and the general conclusion are drawn from them. By observing the data, conclusion are easily drawn. Generalizations of the data and then hypothesis formulation. Last steps, verifications of the hypothesis. Economists today are of the view that both these methods are complementary. Alfred Marshall has rightly remarked, inductive and deductive methods are both needed for scientific thought, as the right or left foot are both needed for working. That's all for today. We will continue in the next class. Finish the assignment by clicking the link below.